You have one important task. It should take 20 minutes. You've known about it for 3 days. So you open your laptop, check your email. Nothing urgent. Check it again anyway. Grab a snack. Realize the kitchen counter needs wiping. Wipe the counter. Notice the cabinet above the counter could be reorganized. Spend 14 minutes reorganizing a cabinet you have opened maybe twice this year. Come back to the laptop. Watch one video, a short one. A short one becomes 3. The third one is about a guy building a cabin in Canada, and you don't know how you got here, but you are invested now. An hour and 40 minutes later, the task is still there, exactly where you left it, waiting with the quiet patience of something that knows it has already won. And the worst part, the part that doesn't make any sense, is that you knew this would happen. You've watched it happen before, multiple times, and it happened again anyway. Why? Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care. The real reason is stranger than that. And by the end of this, you're going to understand something about your own brain that will make every future procrastination session feel very different. Although you will probably still procrastinate. We'll get to that. Here's what scientists discovered when they started actually studying procrastination instead of just judging it. They expected to find a motivation problem, a time management problem, a discipline problem. What they found instead was an emotion problem. Researchers at Carleton University tracked procrastinators over time and found something nobody expected. The people who delayed tasks the most weren't doing it because they didn't care about the task. They were doing it because the task made them feel something uncomfortable, anxiety, self-doubt, boredom, resentment, and their brain found a way out. Here's the part that should make that feel worse. A 2014 study found that procrastinators report higher stress and lower well-being, not later, when avoided tasks finally catch up with them. Right now, in the moment of avoidance, the relief isn't even real. The discomfort just changes shape. The brain found a way out that doesn't actually lead anywhere. Procrastination isn't avoiding the task, it's avoiding the feeling the task creates. Picture tiny workers inside a brain. One of them walks over to a task labeled important project and immediately makes a face. Not because the task is hard, because looking at it creates a low-level hum of discomfort that the brain finds completely unacceptable. Another worker slides the task under a rug. Instant relief. The workers high-five, briefly, until the rug starts visibly bulging. This is the mechanism. The task creates discomfort. Avoiding the task removes the discomfort. The brain learns that avoidance works, and it files that information away for next time, which is why procrastination gets worse over time, not better. Every time it works, the brain gets more confident in the strategy. Now here's where it connects to something much older. The part of your brain running this operation isn't the rational, long-term planning part. It's the older, emotional part of your brain, ancient and completely uninterested in your quarterly goals. It evolved to prioritize exactly one thing: how you feel right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. For your ancestors, this was the correct setting. When you're living in a world of immediate physical threats, immediate rewards, and immediate consequences, being exquisitely sensitive to present discomfort is a survival feature. The cave person who ignored the discomfort of cold and didn't build a fire did not do well. The one who responded immediately to discomfort signals and resolved them immediately survived. Your brain inherited that system. And now that system is looking at your tax return, and it is treating it with the same urgency it would give a mild inconvenience, because the deadline is months away and the discomfort is right now. And to the ancient part of your brain, a problem you can't see yet is barely a problem at all. Now here's a fact that surprises people. Highly intelligent people procrastinate more, not less. A study looking at the relationship between intelligence and procrastination found that people with higher cognitive ability were actually more prone to putting things off. The leading explanation? Smarter brains are better at generating convincing reasons why right now isn't the ideal time to start. The brain that can see every angle of a problem can also construct a very persuasive argument for why starting tomorrow makes more sense. There's still time. The conditions aren't quite right. I work better under pressure anyway. Picture Stickman sitting at his desk, building an elaborate mental case for why starting this afternoon is actually the strategically superior move. The case is detailed. It's coherent. It has 3 supporting points. Stickman is very smart. Stickman has now been constructing this argument for 45 minutes. The task remains untouched. Be honest, what are you supposed to be doing right now? Because the fact that you're here watching this instead of doing it is not a character flaw. It is a very predictable output of a very old system. Now let's talk about perfectionism, because this one catches people off guard. Most people think perfectionism is the opposite of procrastination. The perfectionist cares so much, they can't stop working. The procrastinator doesn't care enough to start. Psychologists found the opposite is often true. Perfectionism is one of the most reliable predictors of procrastination, because when your standard is perfect, starting means risking proof that you might not be able to achieve it. And not starting means the perfect version still theoretically exists, somewhere out there, in a future where conditions are right and you're fully prepared and the outcome is guaranteed. Not starting is how perfectionists protect the dream from contact with reality. Picture Stickman with a blank canvas. He has a vision. The vision is extraordinary. It exists perfectly in his head where nothing can touch it. He picks up a brush, sets it down. The vision is still perfect. He makes a cup of tea instead. The vision remains completely intact and also completely imaginary, which is, in a specific and painful way, exactly the point. The tea is good though. Now here's the one that explains something almost every procrastinator has noticed but couldn't quite name. The deadline arrives. And suddenly, you can work, not sort of work. Actually work, focused, efficient, everything clicking work. The same task that felt impossible for 3 weeks gets done in an afternoon. What changed? The future became the present. When the deadline is distant, the discomfort of working on the task is immediate, and the reward, finishing it, avoiding consequences, is abstract and far away. The brain is not impressed by abstract future rewards. It has never been impressed by abstract future rewards. It is impressed by what is happening right now. But the night before the deadline, the math changes completely. Now the consequence is also immediate. Now there is something the brain can actually process, something real and close and uncomfortable enough to override the discomfort of the task itself. The deadline didn't give you motivation. It gave your ancient brain something it could finally take seriously, and it delivered the way it always has, under pressure, for survival, on time. Technically, now the part that explains why this is so much harder than it used to be. Your ancestors had distractions. Humans have always found ways to avoid uncomfortable things, but the distractions available to your ancestors required effort, wandering away from camp, finding someone to talk to. The alternatives to the task had friction. Today, the alternative to any uncomfortable task is a device in your pocket containing infinite entertainment, infinite social stimulation, infinite novelty, all available at zero friction, specifically engineered by teams of people who study exactly how to make your brain never want to look away. Picture early Stickman trying to avoid sharpening spears. His options: stare at the wall, watch clouds, take a walk. He ends up sharpening the spears. Not because he wanted to, because the wall was genuinely not that interesting. Picture modern Stickman trying to avoid an email. His options: a device containing every video ever made, every conversation ever had, every piece of information in human history, and a curated feed of content chosen by an algorithm that has been studying his specific dopamine responses for years. The email waits. This isn't a discipline gap between early Stickman and modern Stickman. It's an opponent gap. Early Stickman was procrastinating against boredom. Modern Stickman is procrastinating against a billion-dollar industry whose entire purpose is to make sure he never looks away. It is not a fair fight. What's the longest you've ever put something off? Something you knew mattered before finally doing it? Because the answers to that question across millions of people tell a very consistent story about how far the gap between knowing and doing can stretch. Now here's what all of this adds up to. The final piece. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is an ancient emotional regulation system running exactly as designed, in a world it was never designed for. The brain avoids discomfort because avoiding discomfort kept your ancestors alive. The brain prioritizes the present because the present was the only thing that actually mattered for most of human history. The brain responds to immediate threats and ignores distant ones because in the wild. Distant threats either arrived and became immediate or didn't arrive at all. None of that programming has changed. What has changed is the world around it. A world that now requires sitting with discomfort, planning across months and years, starting things whose payoffs are invisible and remote, resisting stimulation that is more precisely engineered than anything that existed at any point in human history. The gap between what the brain was built for and what modern life demands, that gap is where procrastination lives. And every year, the distractions get more precise. The algorithms get smarter. The gap gets wider. For most of human existence, right now was everything. The storm arriving today, the food needed before sunset, the threat that was already here, already moving, already requiring a response. Nobody survived by worrying about something 6 months away. Nobody got through winter by thinking about the winter after next. The brain learned, handle what's in front of you, feel what's in front of you, respond to what's in front of you. And then the world changed. Slowly, and then very fast. And it started asking for things the brain was never built to give easily. Patience, delayed gratification, invisible progress toward invisible goals. The brain is still showing up the way it always has, still scanning for immediate threats, still reaching for immediate comfort, still treating next month like something that doesn't quite exist yet. Not because something is wrong with it, because everything is working exactly right for a world that no longer exists. So here's the question worth sitting with. If our brains were designed to survive the present, how many of our modern struggles are actually ancient instincts operating exactly as they were meant to?